gamma rays from the nuclear processes preceding the true eclosion may be partially responsible for the following fireball, as they may superheat nearby air and /or other material. 10. The vast majority of the energy that goes on to form the fireball is in the soft X-ray region of the electromagnetic spectrum, with these X-rays being produced by the inelastic collisions of the high-speed fission and fusion products. It is these reaction products and not the gamma rays which contain most of the energy of the nuclear reactions in the form of kinetic energy. This kinetic energy of the fission and fusion fragments is converted into internal and thin radiation energy by approximately following the process of black-body radiation emitting in the soft X-ray region. 38. As a result of numerous inelastic collisions, part of the kinetic energy of the fission fragments is converted into internal and radiation energy. Some of the electrons are removed entirely from the atoms, thus causing ionization. Others are raised to higher energy, or excited, states while still remaining attached to the nuclei. Within an extremely short time, perhaps 1/100th of a microsecond or so, the weapon residues consist essentially of completely and partially stripped, ionized atoms, many of the latter being in excited states, together with the corresponding free electrons. The system then immediately emits electromagnetic, thermal, radiation, the nature of which is determined by the temperature. Since this is of the order of 107 degrees, most of the energy emitted within a microsecond or so is in the soft X-ray region. Because temperature depends on the average internal energy /heat of the particles in a certain volume, internal energy or heat is due to kinetic energy. For an explosion in the atmosphere, the fireball quickly expands to maximum size, and then begins to cool as it rises like a balloon through buoyancy in the surrounding air. As it does so, it takes on the flow pattern of a vortex ring with incandescent material in the vortex core as seen in certain photographs. 39. This effect is known as a mushroom cloud. 10. Sand will fuse into glass if it is close enough to the nuclear fireball to be drawn into it, and is thus heated to necessary temperatures to do so. This is known as trinitite. 40. At the explosion of nuclear bombs, lightning discharges sometimes occur. 41. Smoke trails are often seen in photographs of nuclear explosions. These are not from the explosion, they are left by sounding rockets launched just prior to detonation. These trails allow observation of the blast's normally invisible shock wave in the moments following the explosion. 42. The heat and airborne debris created by a nuclear explosion can cause rain. The debris is thought to do this by acting as cloud condensation nuclei. During the city firestorm which followed the Hiroshima explosion, drops of water were recorded to have been about the size of marbles. 43. This was termed black rain, and has served as the source of a book and film by the same name. Black rain is not unusual following larger fires and is commonly produced by pyrocumulus clouds during large forest fires. The rain directly over Hiroshima on that day is said to have begun around 9 a.m. with it covering a wide area from the hypocenter to the northwest, raining heavily for 1 hour or more in some areas. The rain directly over the city may have carried neutron-activated building material combustion products, but it did not carry any appreciable nuclear weapon debris or fallout. 44. Although this is generally to the contrary to what other less technical sources state. The oily black soot particles are a characteristic of incomplete combustion in the city firestorm. The element instinium was discovered when analyzing nuclear fallout. A side effect of the Pascal B nuclear test during Operation Plumbo may have resulted in the first man-made object launched into space. The so-called Thunderwell effect from the underground explosion may have launched a metal cover plate into space at 6 times Earth's escape velocity, although the evidence remains subject to debate. In 1942, there was speculation among the scientists developing the first nuclear weapons in the Manhattan Project that a sufficiently large nuclear explosion might ignite the Earth's atmosphere. Heat from the explosion might fuse pairs of atmospheric nitrogen atoms, forming carbon and oxygen while releasing further energy which would sustain the reaction until all the world's atmospheric nitrogen was consumed. Hans Bethe was assigned to study this hypothesis from the project's earliest days, and eventually concluded that such a reaction could not sustain itself on a large scale due to cooling of the nuclear fireball through an inverse Compton effect. 45. Richard Hamming was asked to make a similar calculation just before the first nuclear test, and reached the same conclusion. 46. Nevertheless, the notion has persisted as a rumor for many years, and was the source of apocalyptic gallows humor at the Trinity test where Enrico Fermi took side bets on atmospheric ignition. 47. Survivability. Survivability is highly dependent on factors such as if one is indoors or out, the size of the explosion, the proximity to the explosion, and to a lesser degree the direction of the wind carrying fallout. Death is highly likely and radiation poisoning is almost certain if one is caught in the open with no terrain or building masking effects within a radius of 0.3 kilometers from a 1 megaton airburst, and the 50% chance of death from the blast extends out to 8 kilometers from the same 1 megaton atmospheric explosion. 48. To highlight the variability in the real world, and the effect that being indoors can make. Despite the lethal radiation and blast zone extending well past her position at Hiroshima. 49. Akiko. Takakura survived the effects of a 16 KT atomic bomb at a distance of 300 meters from the hypocenter, with only minor injuries due mainly to her position in the lobby of the Bank of Japan, a reinforced concrete building, at the time. 50. 51. In contrast, the unknown person sitting outside, fully exposed, on the steps of the Sumitomo Bank, next door to the Bank of Japan, received lethal third-degree burns and was then likely killed by the blast, in that order, within 2 seconds. 52. With medical attention, radiation exposure is survivable to 200 rems of acute dose exposure. If a group of people is exposed to a 50 to 59 rems acute, within 24 hours, radiation dose, none will get radiation sickness. If the group is exposed to 60 to 180 rems, 50% will become sick with radiation poisoning. If medically treated, all of the 60-180 rems group will survive. If the group is exposed to 200 to 450 rems, most if not all of the group will become sick. 50% of the 200-450 rems group will die within 2 to 4 weeks, even with medical attention. If the group is exposed to 460 to 600 rems, 100% of the group will get radiation poisoning. 50% of the 460-600 rems group will die within 1 to 3 weeks. If the group is exposed to 600 to 1000 rems, 50% will die in 1 to 3 weeks. If the group is exposed to 1000 to 5,000 rems, 100% of the group will die within 2 weeks. At 5000 rems, 100% of the group will die within 2 days. 53. Nuclear explosion impact on humans indoors. Researchers from the University of Nicosia simulated Ionis W. Kokkinakis and Dimitris Strakakis nuclear explosion impact on humans indoors. Physics of Fluids 35. 016114 2023 54. Using high-order computational fluid dynamics, CFD, an atomic bomb explosion from a typical intercontinental ballistic missile and the resulting blast wave to see how it would affect people sheltering indoors. They found that the blast wave was enough in the moderate damage zone to topple some buildings and injure people caught outdoors. However, sturdier buildings, such as concrete structures, can remain standing. The team used advanced computer modeling to study how a nuclear blast wave speeds through a standing structure. Their simulated structure featured rooms, windows, doorways, and corridors and allowed them to calculate the speed of the air following the blast wave and determine the best and worst places to be. The study showed that high air speeds remain a considerable hazard and can still result in severe injuries or even fatalities. Furthermore, simply being in a sturdy building is not enough to avoid risk. The tight spaces can increase airspeed, and the involvement of the blast wave causes air to reflect off walls and bend around corners. In worst cases, this can produce a force equivalent to multiple times a human's body weight. The most dangerous critical indoor locations to avoid are windows, corridors, and doors. The above study received considerable interest from the international press. 55. See also. Bomb pulse. Effects of nuclear explosions on human health. Lists of nuclear disasters and radioactive incidents. List of nuclear weapons tests. Nuclear warfare. Nuclear holocaust. Nuclear terrorism.
Good. I did finish reading, but I'm too sleepy to read. Yes, the video splits in 1 minute. I'm too sleepy to read in the morning, but it's not morning, it's 11 or 12. It's 12 noon, so it's not morning. So I have to just read like this because my life is not going to change. And I have to get up in the morning. I cannot just sleep till 1 p.m. Then I cannot get sleep next night. So now I will charge my camcorder. I will try to put more stuff in boxes. I will do that because I have to move out my puppets. Because I have to renovate this building meant $100 million. So my rent will raise like 40%. But that's some other problems.